Hey, welcome to Dear Creative with Dane Daniela. I am Dane Daniela, and on this channel, we focus on a mirror. So when we are reviewing content or content stands out to us in our algorithm, how does it reflect our triggers or our inspirations on or how we want to contribute to the world? And today, I am going to share something that came up in my algorithm. It's fit versus plus size woman from the Dr.Daff show. So I'm not going to go through the entire podcast. I'm going to leave that link in the description below for you all to review. But since I haven't watched it before, I thought it would be nice to do some blind reactions without having any content prepared to see if there's anything that stands out. And so I'm going to start by sharing a question on the screen from the Dr. Daff show for fit versus plus size women. And then I will share if I have any insights as we go along. So the review thing live is a little bit different for me because I want to see something. I might just sit here and just like not have any thoughts. I'll just be like looking. But if something stands out to me, I do want to share how I reflect live time. So, with that being said, I want to also note to you all that I am an ambassador for Garden. And so, all of my content is weaved into this theme of nurturing what we consume, especially our mindset. Garden is a system that will help us with the foods that we consume. So, a lot of our thinking process could be attributed to the way that we think. Maybe there's toxins in our foods, toxins around us. So we can be more intentional about owning our lives and creating systems that help us get there in the most seamless way possible. And so garden is one of those systems that allow you to indoor garden. Maybe you don't have a green thumb. Maybe you don't want to go outside and see snakes like me. Having a garden inside to have those salads on hand is a very helpful tool. So if you want 100 off of your garden system, consider the QR code on the screen or the link in the description box below. So let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can look at the question that I might pick today. So here, and I like that they have the the break points here so I can decide which segment I'm going to go with. So this one says physique is in your control. This one says, I have struggled with body image issues regardless of my size. That's interesting. Then privilege is real. You can be healthy at any size. I have struggled in my dating history because of my size. And then I would not want to change my size. None of these really stand out to me. This conversation is interesting because when we think about people being overweight, this is also a moment for people in the comments to really destroy people. But there are other aspects and there are other things in play that's really making it difficult, especially for Americans, because of what's in the food. And then when you could become addicted and you're trying your best to correct yourself, it just takes a lot of willpower. And I'm interested in this conversation, but I don't know which one to choose. Let me know what you would choose in the comments below if you were helping me and you were here live. I'm going to go with your physique is in your control at the beginning.
And the first prompt is, your physique is in your control.
I think there are a few things that are in our control. For example, nutrition, that's in our control. Stress management, sleep, recovery, things like that, that's in our control.
I would say the only thing that's not in our control is our genetics, our hormones, which play a huge part for females, and our environment. I mean, environment can be in control a little bit, but it really depends on the environment.
I agree. Also having like a stable state of mind, at least for people who are overweight, at least in my life, it's very hard to how can I explain this? Have my brain in the same set that I want to have my heart. So there's times that I'm really stressed out and I tend to do things that are not healthy for me. And that comes even from not working out to sleeping in to avoiding exercise. And it's not healthy. So I think a lot of factors can contribute to you being overweight. It doesn't just necessarily have to do with nutrition and food, but it is a good point to have a good nutrition system around you, even family-wise, you know.
Going off that, I think access and knowledge is a huge thing too. Like, do you live somewhere where access to more nutritious and healthy foods isn't as accessible? And then also the environment that you grow up in, like what does your family do? Those are all things. And then medications, you have no control on side effects of medication. That's out of your control. But yes, all the things that you guys mentioned in your control, but then there's so many other things that just are not within your control.
I definitely agree that certain things about our body can be in our control, but like you were saying with the genetics, those aren't things that we can control. Those are things that we are born with, that we inherit from family members, that are passed down. We can't really control our height and how tall we are, or our bone density. We can't control certain things like that. So to an extent, I'm like, I agree that there's certain things that we can control about our physique, but then there's other factors that come into it that are just absolutely impossible to change, like our genetics, like our height. Like those things can't be changed like by ourselves. It's not possible.
I wanted to just say, I kind of agree in the sense that like there are things that might arise that like we don't like, where it affects how we can control our things. Like, for example, if you're going through depression, I experienced depression in college where I, like you said, I literally couldn't get up out of bed. Like I had no motivation to cook. Like I would go eat fast food because it would give me like kind of like a rush where I was, you know, feeling good. But in reality, I know it's causing more harm to me. And now, since I think like October, I've been working out. I lost 50 pounds and I've just been on a good kick, a good journey, but I have the time. I have like a local like yoga studio where I clean and they give me free classes. And I know not everybody has that access. And I can only imagine if I was a mother, how hard it would be to be able to do all that stuff. But yeah, like
I love this. She pulled out some important aspects. One is her environment and her access to resources changed. And when I review people commenting on people's weight, I wonder if they consider, why is it easier for you versus why is it difficult for them? And even if it is difficult for one person, what are the circumstances that are allowing you to even prosper through that difficult session, right? Like it's hard for me to, let's say the case is that it's hard for me to lose weight, but I was able to conquer, so everyone else should. But when you conquered, what were your obstacles? Was it that you just had school, or was it that you had a family, or was it that you know, it's just so many different things that we don't consider about one another's stories that always baffles me when we decide to criticize someone. On the other side, we have to realize that some people are BSing, right? She says that she know that it's unhealthy, but even in these cases, I would separate it into like three different brackets. So you have the person who knows, no, four. You have the person who knows that they're eating trash, don't care, and they want to, right? Then you have the person who knows that they're eating trash, but they don't know how to get past it. Then you have the person who don't really consider, you know, anything about it. Like they're just passively eating. And then you have the people who are trying their best and then there's just nothing working out for them. But there's always someone who criticizes people at different stages. Sometimes I guess, I don't know, when we criticize and we shame people, I guess there's a case for it to be done. I don't know if we want to shame people into doing right. If our goal is to shame people into doing right, we should do it for things other than weight, I think, because I don't know if weight is really going to contribute. Like someone's eating habit is going to contribute to a better society. But if you shame someone who's in control and manipulating people, that might be more helpful. But whatever.
I sometimes feel like I don't even have time in the day to take care of all the things that I need to take care of. So like I can only imagine being a mother of like 1, 2, 3 and having like to make the time to care for yourself. Like sometimes you won't even have that time.
And also consider what you're trying to lose weight for. Is it healthy, or is it because you feel like you need to look better? Consider what is the reason why you're trying to lose weight. I want to lose weight to stay healthy, not necessarily to stay in a body that I'm probably not going to be happy, because I've been thin before and there was certain treatments that I got different, but in person, in my inside, I felt very different. And I was more happier. Not saying that I'm fat. I'm not trying to make unhealthy living a good thing, but I was happier because I didn't have to fit a certain size. And now I'm just working on staying healthy and making sure that it's going to work for me, and I'm going to spread that positivity to everybody else who's trying to lose weight as well.
I can tell that she's heard backlash a little in her delivery, and I'm thankful that she even shared the things that she did, because one, when someone criticizes someone and says you're fat, you need to lose weight, it probably would be more effective if it was, if it was about their health versus just their image. Because if she felt happier at a different weight that wasn't skinny, this could also be true that people who are skinny aren't solving world peace or doing something magical in the world. They just appear skinny, and they can appear skinny and also be unhealthy. Where do we always assume that people who look bigger than we will want them to be are unhealthy? Truly. Because if we start to study, how our body protects ourselves, and how there's certain fat that is harmful, and there's certain fat that is a certain percentage of fat that's actually protecting ourselves, it just goes beyond like what we see. And I would consider this, I like to eat.
Big back.
So I'm probably looking at it through the lens of liking to eat. And I remember coming across a scripture and it was like, eat, drink, and be merry. And I'm like, yeah, I want to eat, right? Because I'm always trying to find out, like, why is it that we can't enjoy and eat the foods that we gravitate to? And why is it that the foods are here in such a way that's destroying our bodies? Well, this is in America. Sometimes people will talk about their cases and stories outside of America, and the food quality is not only richer and better, it's not destroying. So now we got to go back into, is the system of the food system that we have really causing us to be in this cycle where we can't break out of it even if we wanted to?
Thank you. You said that you were thin at some point.
Mhm.
What contributed to the weight gain?
I was drinking a lot. I was drinking, and also I do smoke. And back in the day, I didn't uh, understand it. I didn't want to accept it, that being intoxicated was driving me to overeat. And it wasn't necessarily a problem, because when I was sober, I wouldn't get cravings to eat. And it was more after I had drank and I had smoked. And probably if I hadn't had a meal in all day, I would wait until night after the party and I would overeat. So it's a lot of things that contributed to that. But I sat with myself and I looked at what I had done to myself. And I said, this is what you need to change. This is what you need to work on. But if you're not ready, just wait for it. But I definitely accept that it was me who drove me to that point.
I see. Thank you for sharing that. Question for the ladies on this side. Do you believe that you can be born overweight? Some people believe that you can't be naturally just overweight. What are your thoughts?
I do believe that you're with genetics. You can be born with a certain amount of, I don't want to say fat cells, but kind of sort of in a way, So genetics will play a small role in that. But at the same time, you can, besides your height, switch those genetics. You can do things to help prevent whatever genetically your disposition is to that particular, whatever that is. So you can kind of a little bit, I would say, but I don't know. It's kind of touchy.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
And with that question, I've been involved in bodybuilding, and in doing that, I've had the opportunity to play with my genetics. I've had the opportunity to shape my muscle. I've had the opportunity and the choice to change my physique. And so with that experience, I believe there is a lot in our control, and including access, because a person that is born poor does not have to stay poor. We see that many Americans are first-time millionaires, they're first-generation millionaires. Was that in their control to do? I believe so. So with the physique
in bodybuilding. You are learning, okay, what are my genetic limitations, but what is under my control? So you're not comparing yourself to another athlete and figure. You're going with your division and you're building based on that division and what your body can do in that division. And I believe that kind of taught me a lot of your physique is in your control, and the things that are outside of your control is kind of like in life. You're not going to worry about that. You're just going to do with what you have in your control. And if someone is born into a family where everyone is overweight, everyone has an unhealthy lifestyle, they are more likely scientifically, psychologically to carry on. It's the nature versus nurture. So really, they aren't necessarily born overweight, but they are cultured to be overweight. And then the genetic predisposition that they have with diet and exercise have been shown to change, that sugar is a main culprit in obesity. It is a main culprit in deregulating hormones and bringing a lot of mental health issues to exasperating them, to making it worse. ADHD, there's so many studies on that. So I just feel like the things about putting sugar in your mouth, that's under your control.
I think this was very well said. I'm always so impressed when people are just able to like answer questions without like a ums or like it's flawless, because that was a flawless answer. And one thing that she mentioned is the aspect of it's just like in life. And I'm starting to lean into this world where our weight does really reflect, or what we choose for our health journey does reflect our everyday lives and how we show up in this world. And sometimes it feels like I would mention, like it seems like there's systems that are playing against us. And we could either fall into like, woe is me, and this system is our fault. Or if we really want to change, if we care about our health, if we want to do something better, then it always going to go back to the choices that we make. So like I previously did a video and I probably was a little bit more like, oh, like there are things that, you know, are out of people's control. They don't have the answer to all the things. But my primary goal was like, mirror yourself. Like the woman on the other side mentioned that she knew that she was eating something that wasn't healthy. So it's like, if I had that thought and mindset, it might be difficult for me to get to the answer, but like, how do I lean into it and let it, instead of it being a passive thought, could be helpful. And then also when she mentioned that she was doing drugs and alcohol. No, I don't know if she mentioned drugs. Did I add that? I think I might have added that. Forgive me. When she said, I know I heard alcohol. When she was, you know, using alcohol, then you have to go like, why did I need alcohol? So there's things that we're trying to recover from. But even in this case, we talk about the poor person having resources. Life, y'all. I find it so interesting because you are pretty much coming to life and then you are tasked with figuring it out and knowing how to do things. And if you don't, then it's on you. But we didn't really get the rule book or the guide to get things. You really just have to innately have the desire to want to be better and then keep looking for evidence that you can achieve what it is that you want to achieve. Now, this could feel like we're in a deficit when we come here. I grew up in this household where we all eat a certain way, and like these are the people that make me have a home, and they're the one feeding me. How do I work against that as a child? And then you start to get the childhood trauma, and so like you already as a child are already in a system where your mind is already starting to develop. But there are some people who have been born in and there are some people who were born in a certain lifetime and they're susceptible to whatever is around them. And there's others who just innately just don't decide to go past that route. If we're talking about these studies and going through research, that would be something to really interesting to study. And there's probably a study out there. Maybe I can look for some. But how is it that two people can be in the same domain or same situation or very similar ones? One has this ability to get out of it somehow, even with the memory from their childhood and how they've been taught, and the other one just have a difficulty. I imagine that the goal is that the person who's able to tap out of it is gifted, and they're supposed to give back to those who need support in whatever lane that is. So we are talking about weight right now, but maybe you are financially savvy and you are a good steward of your money and you are near people who don't. Instead of saying, y'all need to do this, y'all need to do that, figure out the blueprint, help them with the blueprint. And then once the person who has the blueprint they now get rid of some of the obstacles. One obstacle being I don't have the answer anymore, or I don't know how to do it. The next obstacle is how do I find enough love in myself to choose to do this thing that I know is better for me. That's one other obstacle, because they're talking about choosing to do this when for years you may have been controlled to think a certain way. Recently I've been learning about the brain and just the understanding of why we think the way that we do and the habits that we create. And then one thing I learned is that we can have habits that last 15 years, but it can actually be changed in reverse with dedication in 6 months. So we really have something for us when it comes to having these long-term habits. Even if we grew up in a certain household, even if we grew up underneath a certain ideology or system that's against us, if we have something inside of us that taps into I want better, we can achieve it in less time than we endured it. The only thing is, how does a person actually get that inside of them? Is it you're gifted with that mindset, you're innate, you somehow get out of the toxins? I think this is one of my biggest mysteries, because there are people who can do it and there's just people who just can't tap into it. And when people can do it, it's very easy for them to judge the next person who can't tap into it. But maybe it's just I'm supposed to do something with my gift to help inspire them in some way. And then lastly, somebody might not be inspired. They might not be honest with themselves about really what's going on. I would say for me, I'm honest with myself. I'm hard on myself, and I've done it. Like I've been in all these different places where you can, where it takes a lot of time and work to achieve something. And then there's one where when it's seamless and it works effortlessly for you. And then there's cases where I have understanding it has to be these other external factors playing against me, and I'm not even sure how to battle against it. So I said a lot. Let's keep going.
Agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just because you are in that position, or you were raised in a household where maybe they didn't have a healthy lifestyle, doesn't mean you have to follow it. So yes and no.
Yeah, I don't know about genetics when you're initially born, but it's the habits of the lifestyle that you are born into, but there is also such thing as epigenetics, which is where you're not changing your DNA, but you're changing like the way that your genes are like perceived. Basically, the example I always give is there's a picture of my mom, my sister, and myself. And my mom and my sister's legs is like very, very slim genetically. As like an Asian family, we're all very small. But I've grown my muscles to a point where my legs are like 3 times the size of my rest of my families, you know? So, but that's because I was in a place where I had the time, I had the resources, I had the knowledge to be able to do all of those things. And I wanted to do that for myself. But also that's not always a want for everyone either, to differ from what they are genetically given.
And when you have children, I don't know if you do, but if you decide to, your children will probably take on the body type of what you're naturally built to look like genetically, right? Or will it be what you have now done to your body? Do you think that would play a factor?
I think that's the epigenetic side of things, where it does alter things slightly, plus then the lifestyle that I have compared to. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to read more into that for sure.
Thank you for sharing that. And ladies on this side, have you ever struggled with weight loss despite putting in effort?
Absolutely. I think all of us up here can relate to that in one way or the other. And interesting, because I heard from the other side that you were a bodybuilder and you were able to change the way that your body displays and kind of break out of that mold. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, at what cost? Because that's a full-time job. And a lot of us have families and 2 or 3 jobs and have so many things going on in our life that changing like fighting with our body on a regular basis is no longer an option. And my entire childhood, I was a fat kid. I was on a diet from the age of like 5 or 6. I didn't even understand the concept of it. I just knew that I was in ballet and I was bigger than everyone. And there was a recital and I had to lose weight to fit in, to look like everybody else. And so that's when I learned that my body was a problem. And, you know, everything else aside, the fact that I was a big kid and I continued to be a big child into adulthood, I had spent that whole time fighting my body, thinking there was something wrong with it, unable to change it. Nothing that I did was able to change it. And so as an adult, coming into my own and realizing I can pursue health, I can pursue exercise, I can pursue the things that make me feel good, but my battle with my body is done. I don't have it in me anymore, and I want to spend my time on things that actually matter in my life. And I think that I can pursue my life goals without also trying to pursue thinness. That's really unattainable for me.
That was a lot. Wow, that was, oh, wow. Wow. I think about how I want to spend this time enjoying life. And I want to be around people who want to enjoy life. And there are cases like this when we're talking about fit versus plus size women that tug on my heart, because this is a conversation I see a lot on the internet, especially when we do these type of situations, like Jubilee does it and other content creators. They go back and forth about body weight, but she's sharing something vulnerable and from her heart, where she landed in a space where I want to just, spend my time like doing what I can, enjoying what I can. And when you put in that effort into anything, you don't see the results, that's crushing. And then it's even crushing where you know that you're trying your best, but there are people who have their opinions about you, thinking like, oh, you're not doing it right, or you're doing it wrong. And so as I think about my position in life, I'm always trying to figure out, like, when I can hear moments in life where I want to judge something, or I want to criticize something, or tell somebody what to do, but I also want to put space in my world to consider, like, they're trying their best. Now, it doesn't always mean that someone's trying their best. Maybe not. But how is that really going to help my life or their life if we try to force people to do something that they aren't doing in that moment? Is the better use of our time is to be an inspiration, or to be a support, or to be resources. A lot of these ladies already mentioned so far that they had to have the environment and the resources to be able to be in this position. Well, we can do that for each other. Like, when we build these communities and we consider people in the world, like, the reason why people don't have these communities and resources is because there's no care, right? And because they probably made decisions that made it hard or difficult for them, or they grew up in those situations. So now we're trying to decipher which case is which, right? But if we all just leaned into this space of like, okay, how do we make it a better environment for everyone based off of my decisions, then maybe we'll go a little bit further.
What did you do when you were trying to attain what you felt was appropriate for your body?
Restriction, which as a child leads to binge. It's just a natural progression when you restrict a child. I mean, restriction in any way, really, but especially with a child. And exercise, nothing unusual. I think around high school, I started getting prescribed weight loss drugs. That was like the trendy thing. And that was not, that didn't have a positive outcome at all. So pretty much all the basic things you would think.
You said your body was a problem. Like, that really hit me when you said that.
Yeah.
Have any of you ladies felt that way, like your body is the problem? And how does that translate to like you separating yourself from your body? Because if your body is a problem, are you a problem?
So I was gonna say, I think I've come to the point where it's like, I recognize this body's a vessel. Like, I'm far more than my body. I know when I walk into rooms, sometimes it makes people uncomfortable. People are afraid of my confidence. I know it inspires other people, but that's not all there is to me. And I think society has become very vain, to where it focuses more on who people look externally versus who we are on the inside.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that's why my existence is so important. And I've been a plus size model for 7 years, and I've worked for like companies that people probably wouldn't think that I could model for. And I've noticed that sometimes when I go into spaces, people make me feel like I'm not that, like I'm not a model, like I haven't made my space. And I realize like I don't have to prove myself, because it's more like how you view yourself. And that's like a battle I had to make peace with, because I've been a bigger body my whole life. This is never going to change. My mom's 5'2", my dad's 5'7". How did I come out like this? I don't know. But one of the things that makes me so happy and content with myself is that when I was younger, I used to hate that I was big. I used to hate that my voice was deep. And I was like, why is my voice deep? Why am I so big? But I'm like, my message is powerful. My mission on this earth is powerful. That's why God gave me a deep voice, because I'm not meant to have a high-pitched, squeaky voice for whatever message I'm getting out there. And same with my body. I'm not meant to, not putting anybody that's a smaller body down, but where I'm meant to go, the places that this body's meant to take me. And I've been through a lot of physical pain. So I think that's one of the ways where I've come to embrace myself versus tearing myself down. There's so many people in this world that try to do that to me every single day. I can't be one of those people.
Woo! Woo! Yo, I'm feeling this. This has been probably the best conversation I've seen on this topic, because people are really being vulnerable and opening up, but they're also doing something magnificent with their thoughts, where they understand that there are people who are having opinions about them, but they're owning it in a different way. Now, here's the thing about owning it. A lot of people will use Lizzo as a poster child for the fit versus plus size conversation. And now we see Lizzo, she's actually adopting a different way of living. But initially, she used body positivity in a way, it was like, I can be big, I can love myself, and I'm going to stunt on y'all and still love myself. And I think that is one of those transitions that I talk about on the channel, is that a few transitions are happening. One is Lizzo had a mindset where she adopted something where she felt comfortable in it, like confident in it, like, you're not going to take away my power. Even though I might not be able to get the results that I want to, I'm still going to love myself, because that's going to be a root. Then she shifted to thinking about her health, right? And so now there's a new motivation. There's probably new tools and new resources that allow her to get slimmer. And does this mean that she's a different person or a better person? I don't know. But it's a good question for us all to answer when we think about the fit versus plus conversation is, do we believe that people who are fit are just better quality people in life? Like, once somebody loses weight, do they become better? It all depends on how they approached their weight loss. Like, what was the goal of their weight loss? Was it just to satisfy people's rejection of them? And even if it was, what are they going to do from that point? Are they losing weight because they really want to be healthy and they want to be alive in their skin, and it just happened flawlessly, organically? But I think this conversation is just so like I'm always like when people had this conversation, because it almost seems like people will believe that once someone is fit and they lose weight, that just equates to better person, or healthy person. But no one really takes the time and say, like, there are people who are fit and who don't contribute to this world in a better place. They hit other people. They still smoke, or they still drink, or whatever it is that is supposed to whatever it is that is seemingly, not helpful to themselves or other people. There are people who are slim who do that, who are fit to do that. So what words are we really focused on? Healthy, happy. These women are saying, like, they're choosing happiness, because even with their efforts in this one vein area, they're not meeting the mark. And they will never really satisfy these people anyway. So why not use this time on earth to actually experience it for the best parts of them? Doesn't mean that people might not ever change their mind. Like, I thought it was really odd that people were just responding to Lizzo's journey as if she couldn't change her mind and adopt body positivity in a different aspect. I think the place that we get where it becomes unsafe is that body positivity with the rejection of, you do have the option to be healthy. I can still love myself in this body as it's starting to refine itself, and the refining process can look different than you expect. The lady earlier, she's on the side for plus size, but she also mentioned that she lost weight. So people are on their journeys, and people are still going to judge according to their experience. My last thing here is, when people are fit and they start to judge people who are overweight, especially those who used to be overweight, and they like bash people who are still overweight. They think that they're doing that to shame them into doing better. But I'm also interested in why people don't use their freedom with their words to actually just inspire and help them, and consider like, okay, when you say this is how this has helped me, instead of bashing and shaming people. The way that I would think of it is, if you truly wanted somebody to lose weight because you thought they was fat, or you thought there was a problem with their weight, if you start to shame them, make them feel bad, some possibility they might just change because they have invested so much in your thought and your opinion. Or it can lead them into deeper depression, which is going to cause them to eat more, because now people don't like them just because of choices that they may or may not feel like they can control. Even if we had this discussion about, do we think it's in your control, it's really about our mindset and how do we feel about what it is that we want to accomplish. If there's evidence that we can't do it, then we're going to sit in there. But if we start to see evidence of someone who looks like me, and these are the steps, and I really want this, and these are the steps that they take, and we want to take it seriously, we can. Now, life is a challenge, and different people have different challenges. If you struggle with a challenge that's different than another person's challenge, consider looking at another area in life where you haven't mastered. And then when you communicate with people, think about the grace that you have for yourself, or the understanding that you have for yourself when you haven't mastered that part of your life. Because I'm sure that we all have places where we haven't mastered.
Bring it to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of what you said is really beautiful. I love that. Thank you.
Of course.
But I grew up as a little overweight. I don't want to say extreme, but I was a little overweight. My mom and my dad are very thin. My siblings are thin. They're all thin. And they're the type of people that their metabolism, as soon as they eat, they go and they use a restroom. I've never been like that. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound rude, but I've never been like that. And I always knew that I was different from my family, because my parents were always trying to find a way to help me lose weight. Because back in the day, talking about 1990, 2000s, as soon as you were a little bit over your BMI scale, you already considered a huge kid. And everybody around you treated you different. So I was treated different, and I wasn't big. I look at these pictures now, and I'm just like, I let so many people in my own family circle get to me thinking that I was this overweight little girl. I would go hiking with my siblings, with my parents, because we like to fish and stuff. My dad is from a rancho. I would be able to do all those things that they're doing. I just wasn't able to lose the weight as fast as they did. But I was still doing the same things. So I learned at a very, very young age how to tolerate being called fat. And when I decided to lose weight, that's when I lost it. I lost weight for the need of wanting acceptance from others. But when I realized that I was still being accepted, even if I was overweight, I lost myself in trying to accept where I'm putting myself for allowing so many years people in my ear. So I think that's where, if you don't have nothing nice to say, and if you just, by looking at someone, you consider them obese, and you're just going to blabber, you're obese, I don't find that to be nice, because you don't know how much struggle that person is going through to lose that weight. I endured so much struggle because my parents endured it with me. And it wasn't because they were malnourishing me or feeding me over too much. It was just the way that my body, and they were trying to help me fix that body. And now at this age that I'm at, I don't want to achieve a beautiful body. I just want to be healthy. And to me, that's beautiful. To
Hey there, no need to adjust your TV, or more likely your phone. You're watching a recycled commercial.
me, how I look, it's beautiful. And like she said, you walk into rooms, I have confidence. I've always had confidence, and that bothers people. Feeling that you are beautiful, the way that you look, bothers people.
Thank you for sharing that.
I think it's definitely interesting hearing everyone's story, at least on this side. We all have such a different story, but like the common thing that we have in mind is we all were saying we want to be healthy, we want to feel healthy, or we want to feel this, we want that. And for me, my story is different from all of you guys. I was trying to make sure that I was listening to everyone's story, but as a child, I was considered skinny. I hate using the words like that. I'm like skinny, fat, plus size, bigger bodied, smaller bodied. It's all a body. But I was considered at a normal weight as a child, and I was still made fun of despite that because I was so tall. I went through that growth spurt early as a child. I got called a giraffe. I got called long neck by other kids and all of these things, and I gradually gained the weight because I was sexually assaulted as a child. And because of what happened to me, I I was no longer comfortable in my body, and I turned to eating food as a coping mechanism for what had happened to me, and gradually gaining the weight, gaining the weight, gaining the weight. And also at the same time, the genetics also played a role in that because I have PCOS and it runs in my family, but I did not know that at the time. So with PCOS, it's easier to gain the weight and keep the weight than it is to lose it, and also having insulin resistance as well. But a lot of stuff factors into it, and it's definitely difficult to lose the weight, but it's not impossible.
Thank you for sharing that.
Hi, loves. It's me again, Dr. Michelle Daff. We've really been enjoying producing these meaningful conversations on the Dr. Daff Show. However, they are very costly to produce with our large team, equipment, audio, studio, and cast, and everything else that goes on behind the scenes. If you've been enjoying these thought-provoking conversations and want to support what we're doing here, I would love for you to check out my fragrance brand, Fine Forever. Fine Forever is more than just a fragrance brand. It is a celebration of faith, purpose, and beauty. We currently have 3 signature scents, each inspired by a unique Bible scripture and has with its own story and meaning. First, we have 2911, inspired by the scripture Jeremiah 29:11. It is a delicate yet vibrant fragrance that combines lush florals with soft, sweet undertones. It is a celebration of gratitude and the blessings that unfolds when we walk in faith. Next is Silent Storm, inspired by Psalm 107, 28, and 29. It is a bold, captivating scent that balances strength and serenity. With warm woods and a touch of spice, it is a reminder to find peace and purpose, even in life's storms. And lastly, we have Mustard Seed, inspired by Matthew 17:20. It is a fresh and uplifting fragrance inspired by faith and growth. It opens with bright citrus and soft florals, symbolizing the beauty of small beginnings and the incredible potential within. Every purchase directly supports this show and helps us to keep bringing you meaningful content. So if you're looking for a signature scent that not only smells amazing, but also carries a message of faith and empowerment, then you can visit fineforever.com and shop now. Your support means the world to me, and I truly believe that these fragrances will bless you as much as they've blessed me.
And the next prompt is,
Okay, so I guess that was the end of that discussion. I love what the young lady said and how different her story was, because it just shows us that, you know, our words do matter. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. And I played that. I didn't know that ad was coming for fineforever.com, but I would love, this is when I thought about, you know, I mentioned earlier, like the brands that I want to promote. Like I would want to promote a brand like this, obviously, because I'm into scriptures. I like the storytelling aspect of them. And I also like all of these scriptures that she mentioned in Fine Forever brand. So I'm hoping that I can, you know, look at this brand and maybe do a review on the perfume, because I have watched so far now 2 of Dr. Daff's shows, and her content has been great. So I hope that you all encourage or support this brand by checking it out as well. And hopefully I'll come back with a video telling you how Fine Forever is, and then, you know, maybe they're looking for another brand ambassador. I will definitely ambassador that brand because the content is definitely aligning. But what do you guys think? Oh my goodness, I still am thinking right now. I don't even want to leave because, first of all, we did focus a lot on the stories on the plus size, and I feel like I want to watch the rest of this with you all, but it's been already long so far. So go and watch the full content. This is just like one segment that I thought I wanted to jump into, but I'm really interested in how the other side is receiving this. And if the people on the other side, if they're even some of the bullies that's online when we talk about weight, because it's just an interesting topic. It's an interesting topic because, you know, we don't know everybody's story. And it's the same concept when we're looking at people's stories online. We don't know the full story. And yes, there are cases where people are just giving up on themselves or it's hard. But even in those cases, there's still a story. Like people end up becoming hard on themselves and not caring at all because of another story. We really need to practice on how to love on each other a little bit better, but it really starts with how we love on ourselves. And these ladies on the other side have really shared how they love on themselves. And it's clear that, you know, taking care of your body and being intentional about your body does show an aspect of love and care. But as the one lady mentioned, there's so much more than just your body. If I'm an advocate of, you know, wanting to make sure your body looks beautiful. I am very superficial in that case. Like I want to make sure that you know, I don't want to, and you know, I'm thinking about choosing my words wisely. I would say that that's something that's important to me. I think the way that I look personally on the outside is something that I think about. However, what I'm more concerned about is the concept of my character. So I'm refining that more. And I believe there should be balance. Like take care of your body. You know, the same way that you talk about how people should be mindful of their words and choose life in their words. Choose life with your tongue by the things that you eat. And I remember having a transition where I grew up really already having this mindset of like taking care of your body and eating right. And then life happened and you just slowly get into this other world of food that is satisfying for a moment. And then it starts to like take over. And then you have to battle against those decisions. And you don't know why it's so hard or why it's so difficult to do things or why it feels like at one time you could master this and now it's just a little bit difficult. But if we had communities that really supported what we all wanted to see in the world, I think it might be easier for us all. So when I say tap into love and to love well, it's not because I'm thinking like, oh, if we just kumbaya, the whole world will fall in place. It's really, really the most radical thing that we can do. It's all of the advocacy thing that we can do. Like we have to start doing it with ourselves and really promote that everywhere so it becomes overwhelming. It's almost like right now it's easier to think negative, but what if it was easier to think positive? Like why don't we just switch that to see how that is for a few decades, years, centuries, lifetimes. Until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your healthy well-being and your mind. Be mindful. Bye.
Breathe.